Everyone, Chelsea here from Sew Simple Home. Today we are putting together our popular microwave potato bag. I'm gathering all my supplies, so the first thing that I'm going to grab is my thread, and I'm using 100% cotton thread. I'm also going to use 100% cotton material for my main fabric, my lining fabric, as well as my batting. And you can use Warm and Plush. That's a great option for the batting. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But first I'm going to cut out my lining. I just have this white cotton fabric, and I'm going to cut it to be 12 inches wide by 20 inches long. So I'm just going to grab my ruler and cut on my cutting mat. But when you're doing this project, it is important that all of your materials are 100% cotton, because when they go in the microwave, they're going to get hot, and if they're not cotton, they can melt or scorch. Now, cotton can scorch as well, but it is less likely, especially if you're using our suggestion of 3 to 4 minute intervals. So next I'm going to cut my main fabric, and I have this kind of fun geometric print. And this one is also 100% cotton. And again, my main fabric is going to be cut at 12 inches wide by 20 inches long. And like I was saying before, this microwave project, as long as you're using 100% cotton, you should be fine in putting in the microwave for 3 to 4 minute intervals. And I use my microwave potato bags all the time. So this is a really great project. All right, lastly, we're cutting our batting, and we're cutting it the same, 12 inches wide by 20 inches long. And since my batting is a little bit wider and longer of material, I just need to trim it up just a little bit better. But this batting is Warm and Plush. You can also, I believe, use Warm and Natural. You just want to make sure whatever batting you're using is 100% cotton, or else it will melt. I have been there. So I'm just going to actually line up my fabric here and use that kind of as my template for how long I'm going to need it. All right, so I have my 3 layers together, and we're just going to line them all up really nicely here. All right, I've got my 3 layers, so let's get sewing. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our layers together. So I'm putting my lining fabric over the top of my batting, and then I'm going to place my main fabric with the right side down over that lining. So all 3 layers are together, and I'm going to stitch the 3 layers together on one of the short sides at about 1/2 inch. You could do 1/4 inch, but I'm giving myself a little bit more leeway on this because I'm going to be using it a little bit more. All right, cut my threads here. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, at about 1/2 inch, we're sewing all 3 layers together. And this is, I said before, a really quick project to sew. It's one of my favorites. It's actually a really good gift as well. Just a super fun and quick project. All right, so I have the 2 short sides sewn together. And now I'm going to take the edges, and I'm taking my pinking shears, and I'm just gonna trim both short sides with my pinking shears. And this will just help to give it a seam finish, so as it's being washed, as it's being microwaved, that those edges don't fray, don't fall apart. Now you could do a zigzag stitch on here. Just make sure you're using 100% cotton thread. You don't want to put it through your serger with polyester threads. All right, next we're going to open it. So we're going to separate the main fabric layer from the lining and the batting and kind of turn it right side out, which is kind of strange, but this is going to make it so that those short sides are nice and finished, as you can see here, and then those long sides still have the raw edges, but when we stitch the layers together here in just a second, those long sides will stitch really well. Now I forgot this step. You're gonna need to cut a piece that is about 2 inches by 7 inches long. This is gonna be your loop or your tab on the outside. You will put right sides together and just stitch along the long side. And this one's actually longer than I need, so I'm just gonna trim it down. But I just wanna have a real quick tab. So this is kind of what it looks like. It could be 5 inches versus 7 inches. I guess it just depends on how long you want it. But this tab is actually really helpful so you can pull your potato bag out of the microwave without burning yourself and touching the potatoes. So I'm just turning this right side out real fast. And then we're going to pin it onto our potato bag here. And I'm just going to finger press it. It doesn't really need much more than that, just so it gets nice and flat. Then we're going to fold it in half, put the 2 raw edges right on the bottom here along this longer edge. Now, here I'm doing it about 3 inches. I would actually say go down 2 inches. 3 inches might be a little too much, your tab, when you actually fold your potato bag. To sew it here in just a second, 3 inches is too much. So I would only go down 2 inches. But I'm just stitching it in place so it doesn't move out of the way and I don't have an issue with it. So that's kind of what it looks like. So now we're going to top stitch the 2 short ends that we sewed together, or turned right side out, I guess you could say. And this is just going to give it a nice top stitch so that it doesn't kind of come unraveled when you put it in the laundry or when you are using it in the microwave. It just gives it a little bit more strength and it kind of finishes it off. So a nice little top stitch, seriously right along the edge, 1/8 of an inch on those folded edges. And it also helps to keep the batting or the lining from rolling and coming out. So there's lots of good reasons to top stitch. So just trim these threads here. So that's kind of what it looks like. Now we are going to fold. So I'm going to fold about 3 inches on one side, maybe 4, and then fold up so they overlap on the opposite side. And then I'm just stitching that raw edge. And I'm just making sure that my little tab is in place so that I stitch over the top of my my little tab, my little loop. Okay, so there's one side done. And you can see they're overlapped. And now we're going to do the other side. You can also see that my batting is slightly shorter than my fabric. And that's okay right now. I guess I didn't measure very well because we're going to use our pinking shears and we're going to trim those edges so they're nice and straight. So even I don't do everything perfect. And I've made this project quite a bit. So I don't always do things completely accurate. And you can make this potato bag bigger or smaller for your needs. But I find this size is really good. I can usually get 3 to 4 potatoes in it depending on the size of those potatoes. So we live in Idaho, so we have really large potatoes. So sometimes I can only get 2 in here, but this potato bag works really, really well. It keeps the moisture inside and it cooks those potatoes nicely. And it's easy. There's a lot of layers here, so we're struggling a little bit through some of the bulk here with my pinking shears. We're gonna get there. Okay. All right. Now we can turn it right side out. So I'm just going to, got some extra thread here, turn my corners first so that I can try and get them sharp as best as I can through all of these layers. You can also trim those corners down, put them at a diagonal. And I'm just going to turn it right side out, just like that. Ta-da! That is your potato bag. Now you can put your potatoes in there and pop it in the microwave, and I'll show you how to do that. So here's my bag. I've got about 4 potatoes here. I just open my bag and put my potatoes inside. I've washed them, dried them. They're nice and clean. They're ready to be cooked. I placed them in the microwave for 3 minutes and then I'm done. And you can use them in whatever you want. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you have questions in the comments.